Welcome to our experiment, the 100-Person Project. Simple questions for 100 people. I'm Bill Carell, and this is my investigation. A research project to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. The questions are fixed, and all the interviews remain consistent, with the variable being the actual participants themselves and their answers. So, Dan, it's as if I'm asking you to come over and sit on my porch with me and share your thoughts about life and the world so I can learn about people. We're looking forward to what we're going to learn when we are complete. However, we are very interested in the people, the process, and your particular story. So we'll get to know you through the interview, and so let's dive in. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce my guest. Well, why don't you do it for me? What is your full name?
Thank you, Bill. My full name is Daniel Blanchard. Many people just call me Dan.
Yes, they do, and I'm one of those people. So, anything in particular about that, or were you named for somebody, or is it something that just was an inspiration around the time you were born?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's pretty funny. I'm not quite sure where the name Dan came from, or if it was an inspiration for anything. But when I was really little, the kids around the neighborhood used to call me Danny Fanny, and I used to chase them all around the place. Hated to be called that as a little kid, and then much later, teenage, early adulthood, I was called Dan the Man, which I thought that was much better to be called Dan the Man instead of Danny.
I'd agree with that too. They have a completely different tone of voice, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And like I said, and Dan's fine. But I got to tell you, Bill, funny story is every now and then I hear somebody, just kind of coming in and says, "Hey, Danny." And I turn and I'm like, it's an old neighborhood kid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is.
Same here. I'll be Billy till the day I die to some people, my classmates from grammar school. I can always tell because everyone knew my dad as Bill, and they all knew me as Billy until the two of us weren't around doing the same things anymore. When he stopped coaching me and started coaching my brothers, for example. But no, Billy, and I understand from a good friend of mine, Johnny McCullough, that it's the Irish sign of respect to refer to handsome Danny Blanchard or handsome Billy Carell,
Cool. I'll take that any day.
100%. All
100%.
right. So we've kind of dived into some nicknames that you had, but what would you say is your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
Geez, that's a good one. A nickname that most people don't know. Like I said, I think as I just said, I kind of think that my favorite, believe it or not, is Dan the Man. And believe it or not, as every now and then when I hear Danny, I go, there's like a little warm spot in my heart. Because I'm like, this is somebody that's known me for like 50 years. So there is a little warm spot in my heart. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. I'm thinking they probably don't know that. But it definitely puts a little warm spot in my heart. Because I'm like, these are like my people, from way, way, way back. And I didn't come from the best neighborhood in the world. We all had our issues that we were dealing with. All of our families, none of them were perfect. We were all dealing with issues. 35, 40-ish years later, 45 years later, yeah, there's just something really, really nice about every now and then hearing Danny and turning and seeing a guy, that 40 years ago, 45 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. But I still like Dan the Man too.
Dan the Man's a good one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Dan the Man, when did you notice first what color your hair was?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, when I was a little kid, I had blonde hair.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I was a towhead when I had blonde hair, and I remember being happy about that. But then at some point, I don't know, it was elementary school, my hair started turning brown, and I remember getting sad that my hair was turning brown. I wanted it to stay blonde because people, they always made comments about it, and this and that. And then, then many, many, many years go by, and I started having kids of my own. And, and the first two come out as total towheads, platinum blonde. And I was like, wow. And as I had my little boy over my aunt's house, which I don't get to see often. But when I was over there with my little boy, she goes, "Wow, there's no guessing who that kid belongs to. That's little Danny." And I'm
Yeah.
looking at little toe head platinum, almost white blonde hair. I'm looking at him. I'm going, "Wow." I'm like, I look like that, and I'm going, "Dang, I wish people had told me that I look like that and that I was really that good looking. I would have been
Yeah.
much more confident in life." Told me I was that good looking.
Yeah. We all can take that compliment, can't we? No
Because I
doubt.
remember looking at my daughter and son just going, "They are beautiful." And I'm
Yeah.
like, and if I look like that, man, I wasted it. You know,
Well, who knew? Yeah. Who knew? There you go.
who
So
knew?
how old do you think you were when you noticed it was changing?
Gosh, probably about 6, 5, maybe 5, 6, something like that. Yeah, it was changing, and there were times when I was older. I was just like, I mean, maybe this is like a dumb thing, but there was in the '80s. That what was it, that Sun In came out, light in your hair. Some of my buddies were using it. Every now and then, somebody have a blonde streak or blonde highlights in their hair, and you kind of look like a California surfer dude. You know, look kind of cool, and like you must be fun because you look that way, and suntan and whatnot. So there was a couple of times I sprayed a little bit of that sun into my hair, and it didn't really help me much. It just kind of turned my hair like a little orange color. And then some of my buddies were busted on me and called me Oompa 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 from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, exactly. Oompa Loompas, right.
And I was like, "All right, I'm not using that anymore."
Well, the other thing that you could do to lighten your hair up a little bit was to put lemon juice in it. And,
Mm,
I learned that from one of the girls that rode the bus. And she got on
yeah.
the bus one day and I asked her, I said, "What did you do?" And she said, "Well, my mom put lemon juice in it." She said, "All the girls are doing it and the guys too." So sun
Yeah.
it. And then the other thing was the copper tone bronzer that
Oh,
made you look orange.
yeah. I remember that. I remember that, all trying to look tan and fun and like beach dudes, beach girls, surfers. All of us just trying to look like we were just out and about having a great time, fun in the sun.
All,
Um,
yeah, all the marketing was working, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now life is so different. I don't think about blonde hair for 1 second. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, being a good husband, a good father, being a good man,
Yes.
getting it done at work. Um, yeah, not that looks aren't important, but looks are secondary, and blonde hair is absolutely way, way back on my list of important.
And I really get that. And knowing how busy that you are and all the things that you've done, we'll get into some of that, during this half hour. But I'm really looking forward to having you back for my other lighting the candle podcast too, because I think you'd be a rock star on that. And I don't mean a rock star, in terms of anything other than people starting to understand your commitment to life and to other human beings, which it's very moving for me. So
Yeah.
as we go here, people will get a chance to look behind the curtains where I don't think most people that know the answers to any of these questions that I'm asking you. So now here's a good one for you. As busy as you are, what is your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
Oh, wow. Let me see. I would say Netflix. Netflix TV. If I have some time to kill, I'll pop on Netflix TV and watch a show. I mean, I don't watch a lot of shows and I don't have much time and I almost never kill time. But if I'm home, I pop on Netflix TV. I do that. If I'm out somewhere, I do probably two things. If I'm out somewhere, many times I pop in on my phone a little Kindle book and start reading. But I don't know if that's really a waste of time. Reading's good, so that kind of doesn't exactly fall in that category. But I always do that. And then once in a blue moon, I really will waste time, and I'll pop up like my Instagram or something like that, one of my social media channels, and I'll scroll for a couple minutes while I'm waiting to do whatever it is I got to do next. Sometimes, Bill, what I also do, people watching every now and then. People watching, like no music, no nothing, just people watching. I do that every once in a while to kill a little time, and it's something that we so rarely do. that it almost seems like a little treat or something like that when you do that. And then now that I'm on this string, let me just kind of bring this up real quick. Every now and then when I'm driving home, like I'm always listening to like audiobooks or podcasts, like education. I call it the automobile university.
Yep.
Why not? I'm in the car a lot. I'm always doing that. I'm knocking books off like crazy. But every now and then, same thing with that kind of people watching. Every now and then, I turn off the audiobooks. There's no music, there's nothing, and it's just silence. Sometimes I'll do like silence for like the last 20 minutes, drive home or something. And that too, it's up there with people watching. It's a little bit of a treat. It's not something that we do often, but I find it just comforting every once in a while to do that. And I don't know if you want to say that's wasting time because I'm not educating myself, but it's something about that, and I don't think it's a waste of time.
I think it's a wonderful thing to take a pause, and when you do that intentionally, it might seem like a waste of time to some people, or you might catch yourself somewhere along the way, thinking, well, okay, that's enough of that. Now I got to get back to whatever my next thing is here. But in the meantime, I think people who are used to performing at a peak level realize you got to have some downtime. You got to have a little bit of time to recharge the battery and
Mhm.
let your mind rest a little bit too. So the what's your favorite part about the people watching? Where do you find the greatest reward?
Uh, um, wow. I probably can't even articulate this. Here's the funny thing is that my wife is really good at people watching observation. She's got the power of observation, right? I got a buddy, same thing. I always joke around with them when they bust on me. And I'm like, listen, the power of observation, that goes to like freaking criminals and police officers. And I'm neither, right? So it's not my thing. But every now and then I do it, at least try to do it. I don't quite have the power of observation my wife has and one of my buddies has that bust on me for it. But every now and then I just do it. And in my mind starts turning as I'm watching people and trying to think, who is this person? What have they've overcome? Where are they from? What do
Mm,
they know? And the majority of the times, my mind is not articulating this in like words, maybe sometimes pictures, or maybe sometimes very far off faded pictures that I'm not even sure what the heck it means, not even sure how to articulate it. But every time I do that, like I told you before, there's like a little bit of a comforting there, but there's also something like a little bit of a magic motion there. There's something magical about it that I can't articulate. And it's just, I don't know if it's just, you know, who knows who's the next person you're going to meet that's going to open your eyes to something you haven't really thought about before and completely change the direction that you're going to, like a better place
yeah,
for you to do better things, for you to contribute bigger and better things. And that can happen at any moment. So I
yeah.
think that it's almost like watching these little treasures walk by. And even though I'm not like stopping them and talking to them and communicating with them, maybe it's a reminder that the world is filled with like little treasures that are just walking by us all the time, and we don't even know it because we don't know their stories because we haven't asked them to stop and talk to them. Like when my mom died, Bill, I was doing the eulogy. I got asked to do the eulogy, and I did a great job, by the way. It was making great. I did such a good eulogy. People talked about it for 6 months. But one of the things I was doing was, researching my mom, calling her sister, asking her, and her sister goes, "Did you know your mom was a trapeze artist?"
Holy
What?
moly.
My mom? What? My mom. I didn't know that. You know how many cool stories my mom could have shared with me? How many cool stories your mom can share with you? How many cool stories your neighbor can share with you? You know how many eye-opening, cool, just fascinating, interesting
Yeah.
things the mailman can share with you? It's mind
You,
blowing.
you know, it strikes me that's brilliant, for I don't know. I know other people that do people watching or girl watching or something of that nature, but they're typically not their mind's not full of questions. It's full of judgments,
Mm.
and the way they express themselves, like they think they know something about that person. And having the curious mind that you do is it's really a skill that it sounds like you've honed it to a craft. And I'll tell you what, if you get rejuvenated and you get your life out of it, just being around people and appreciating who they are without knowing any of their story, but just being able to, like get their body language and what they've done to prepare themselves, what they're wearing, what they seem to be doing in life. That's not a bad way to refresh. I think that's brilliant.
Absolutely. And I love that you use the word like curious. You know what I'm saying? I think every one of us should be curious. That's like the
Yes.
spice of life. Variety and curiosity is definitely the
Yes.
spice of life. No doubt about it. So let's all be curious, because when you're curious, it's also a sign of intelligence. And then every once in a while you meet someone that says, hey, keep your nose out of this or whatever, right? But it's like, no, I'm curious. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
It's a sign of intelligence.
Yeah. When you stop asking questions, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you stop developing. And when you stop developing, you think you know everything. And then how do you ever get satisfaction out of that? How can you ever be wowed by life when you think you know everything? And it's not even that people who know everything know they know everything. They don't know that they don't know that they think they know everything, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Well, I got to Bill about that, and I think you're right on it with that. Uh, Here it is. I completed 14 years of college, have 7 degrees. I've written 40 books. I've spoken on some big stages, TEDx, all that stuff. And every single day, I run into so many things I don't know. And I have no illusions that I know it all, that I even know most of it, or that I even know half of it. I
Yeah.
know that I don't know. And
Yeah.
I know that every day I'm going to learn, and that my best years is still ahead of me, because I'm going to keep learning stuff. And I think back to just like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. And I think back, what was I worried about during those days? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now I do that stuff, no problem. I totally know how to do that. You know,
Yes.
um, so same thing with the future. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff that we don't know. When it gets sad when you get these people who don't know that they don't know. And they think they know everything. Oh my gosh, what a boring world that must be. An opinionated, boring world for that person, because
Yes.
they're closing the door to what could happen in the future.
It's that, and then there's also only one way conversations with them can go. It's
Mm,
always going to be a narrow focus bouncing off of the boundaries of what they're pretty sure is true. Um, and in many cases, it's just on the other side of what they know to be true where satisfaction in life really comes from. And
yes, yes.
so
Mhm. I
speaking of that, what else did you want to say?
I just want to say real quick. I remember reading Carol Dweck's book Mindset, and one of the things she
Yep.
talks about with your youth, with your children, with your students, with your athletes, whatever it is, like, don't come out and say like you're brilliant or you're good or you won because you're so talented. Always praise the effort, because if you praise the effort, then they're willing to give
Yes.
more. But if you praise, oh, you're just a natural, you're so talented, you're so smart, the minute they make a mistake, they just took a hit to that persona of that they're so smart or so talented. So what's happening? I'm not so smart anymore, not so talented anymore. Now I'm kind of like, I kind of want to hide and not try so much anymore, just in case somebody else sees that I'm not so smart anymore, I'm losing it, or I'm not so talented anymore, I'm losing it. So like, you don't praise kids or youth that way. You praise, and
Yeah.
Carol Dweck is brilliant on this. You praise them for the effort. So they keep making the effort and you keep growing, which fits right in, the doorway, what you're saying, earlier about, these people that think they know it all. They have this very limited conversation, which is going to bounce back and forth, and they're not really going to grow. They don't really have a growth mindset. They get that fixed mindset, sadly, and their
Well,
future is
see,
going to be more.
100%. And what you finally are, uh, pointing at is those people who don't know that they're only responding positively about the things that they're getting stroked for will stop doing all the things that they either failed at or they were told that they weren't doing it right, or that all of that sort of thing. So when you have somebody who is an abject failure, who like a wrestler that goes out and gets pinned his first 5 matches. When he come back, the first thing you got to say is, what did you learn from that? What do you now see that's going to, inform your next time you go out onto the mat, and see what you can execute that will make a difference with that? Just some kind of a question about what did you learn every single time, as opposed to, that was brilliant what you did. You magically pinned that guy in 30 seconds, and
Yeah.
but it may never happen for you again. And I know people that have quit sports because they weren't as good as at 15, they weren't as good as they were when they were 12. So
True, true. And that's when they get set in that fixed mindset.
100%. And that's a hard one to shake until you are around some bull goose loonies like you and me, who basically say, hang around me long enough, I'm going to convince you of your greatness, and watch you do sort of heights that you never thought possible. Not because I did it, but because you now know you can. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
And if you continue in the same vein, that's funny. There have been times when I've been around authors and I've told authors, I think I've got an advantage here. Here's the thing. Like, I know I'm not a great writer. So I'm going to keep trying and keep trying, right? And I'm going to keep improving and keep improving, because I know I'm not a great writer. So, and now I have 40 books, and these people may have one or none, you know what I'm saying? Because they're great writers, but they're not going to keep trying and keep trying, because they
Yep.
don't want to look stupid.
That's inspirational to me. I think I first met you when you were first doing your very first book, which I believe is The Storm. And to have time go by in between then and now, it's kind of remarkable. So my next question is going to tell a lot. What is your favorite movie to watch alone?
All right. I'd have to say Humphrey Bogart's Casablanca.
Oh my
It's in
goodness.
black and white. Nobody in my family, loves history that much. I've got one daughter, my oldest daughter, who
Right?
likes history enough to watch stuff with me on the History Channel or whatever. But I can't get even her. I can't get even her to watch like the black and white, something that's from like 50, 60 years ago or whatever it is. But yeah, I like to watch every couple of years. Every couple of years, if I'm home, maybe if I'm homesick, or for some reason I'm just home, maybe I shouldn't be home because I'm sick or whatever. Um, I'm home alone, or I just flip on every now and then Casablanca, watch a little Humphrey Bogart, and there's nobody in my family that's gonna
What's
watch that.
to love? I mean, everything about it is fantastic, and it's one of the top 5 classics of all times. I think
Yeah.
every kid should have to watch it in the 2nd grade and then watch it again in the 10th grade.
Oh yeah, I think they should. It's such a classic, and it twists my mind and up when I'm like, how come? I mean, what do you mean you don't want to watch it? But I'm like, whatever. Then
Yeah,
I'll watch it. Like, I'll watch it. So whatever. Every few years I watch it.
good for you. So here, this one I'm listening very carefully because I'm kind of interested in terms of your thinking. And so, if you were to have an action figure made of you, what superpower would it have, Dan? And what colors would the uniform be?
I've never thought about this, but if I see my super action figure, Dan the Man, the first thing that comes to my mind is just Superman. I think Superman's always been my favorite. So I would probably model myself as some degree of Superman. Like, flying would be really cool, to be able to fly, being so strong. I don't think I need those little like fire things or laser beams that come out of his eyes that burn thing. I don't think I need that. Why
Yeah,
not? But definitely being like super strong, being super fast. That might be the wrestler athlete in me, being super strong or super fast. And the whole thing of being able to fly, I think would be like really cool. So I think my superhero, Dan the Man hero, superhero thing would kind of be somehow, in some way, kind of modeled in that direction toward
yeah.
like the Superman. I always thought he could beat all the others up, anyways. And no one could tell me different. Superman could beat them all up. I know some people try to say something else, but I don't believe it.
Well, the neat part of it is they realized early on that he had to have some kind of an Achilles heel, otherwise people would, if he's never at risk in a fight, that's why they had to invent kryptonite,
Yes.
you
Mhm.
know? And the neat thing about that is, so you're going to be superhero modeled after Superman, and what colors would you make the uniform?
Well, definitely the blue. Blue would be in there. I
Right?
think blue is my favorite color. Oceans, water, this blue skyline. Definitely blue would be in there. And I guess you need something to go with blue. So again, I mean, I think red goes with blue well. So I would probably do that. But Bill, I got to tell you, I have my own kryptonite.
Yeah.
When if I'm going to be Superman or Dan the Man, I have my own kryptonite, and it gets me not often. Well, every once in a blue moon, the kryptonite couch gets me. Well, and this is what it means. I'm on the run all the time. I'm like really busy from like early morning to pretty much late at night when I sit down and usually watch like one TV show with my wife at the end of the night, and then we just kind of go to bed. But every once in a blue moon, like this, maybe I'll have some time to kill, right? So every once in a blue moon, I might sit down on the couch and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch TV for like 20 minutes and then I'll get back on it. That 20 minutes, that couch just sucks everything out of me. It's my kryptonite couch. And it's like, oh man, it's almost impossible to get back up off
Yeah.
of it once you sit on it or kind of lounge on it. So I kind of make it a habit not to lounge on the kryptonite couch unless I really got some time to kill.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to get back up
Do you fall asleep?
once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Once in a while, I fall asleep, and sometimes, believe it or not, like I even do like these little micro naps where I'll fall asleep for like I don't know, like 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
That happens every now and then, but usually, usually it's not that big of an issue. Usually, I'm up, off, and on my way because I've always got things I have to go to, which is more powerful than the couch. But every now and then, I'll get something that's kind of important, but not really, really important for me to do, and then I'll get sucked into the kryptonite couch big time. And then later on, I'll be like, ah, man, I should have just done that thing instead. But I let the kryptonite couch get the best of me.
Well, if you're going to lose a battle, that's not a bad one. That's for sure. So, along similar lines, what did you want to grow up to be when you were 5 years old?
Oh yeah, definitely a movie star. Definitely some kind of movie star. Um, in the 80s, I was growing up. I was born at the very, very, very end of '69. So basically 70. But I like to tell people that, I'm like a 60s baby, just missed Woodstock, whatnot. But, as I'm going through the 70s and the 80s, uh, like the wrestling's there, the WWF wrestling's there. But even more so, you get the action movies. You remember Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson in the 70s,
Right.
80s, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. So I was like, I'm going to be like that. I'm going to be like a tough guy, like in freaking Hollywood, and big muscles and beating everybody up, and it's going to be freaking so much fun. That's what
Yeah.
I'm going to. And that never happened.
Yeah.
It
Some
never happened.
you got to be a pretty good, not necessarily fighter, but a pretty good contender. And then got busy doing other things and working and writing books and stuff and coaching.
Yep, absolutely.
So Dan, I've known you to accomplish an awful lot, but what is your greatest accomplishment?
Gosh, I many times I go back to my first accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? What I felt like was my biggest accomplishment to change things. And this biggest accomplishment, I think, that totally changed the trajectory of my life was that time when I was a sophomore in high school, a nobody on the wrestling team. And I went to this Junior Olympic qualifiers wrestling tournament. I didn't know anybody there. Nobody knew me. I wasn't even supposed to like be there, but I showed up. I showed up. I entered 2 weight classes up, because I didn't want to like try to get like lose weight or nothing like that. And I just went, whatever, I'll just go this weight class. And I won it. I won it. And it was really weird because like there was nobody there to watch me, nobody there to judge me, nobody there knew me. I didn't know anybody. So I went out there. My attitude was just, I don't even know where it came from, but my attitude was, let's go out there and get my butt kicked and just like have some fun and like learn something. And then for the first time, I wrestled without fear, and I tore everybody up and took first place. And then after that, my whole life changed. Well, because now I'm like, wow, like I really am a great wrestler instead of just a good wrestler. And that transferred over to a whole bunch of other things, state championship in football, Army stuff, excelling in the Army, college, 14 years of college, 7 degrees, you know, um, the whole thing, like maybe having enough confidence, to ask that girl out for a date and ask that girl to marry me, right? Becoming a father, getting a job as a teacher, coach, writing the books, giving the speeches, the TEDx talks, the 40 books, all that stuff stemmed, I think, from that. So I mean, it gets tough to say what's my grade. Is it the 40 books? Is it the TEDx talk? Is it winning the Junior Olympic qualifier? Um, is it my first child? Is that my greatest accomplishment? Maybe that's it. But that first, my mind always says the others. Is it breaking the Connecticut bench press record? But my mind goes back. Is it winning the football state championship and winning the defensive game ball trophy for Thanksgiving? I mean, all that stuff, or great, a great winner, running a marathon. All that stuff developed because of what I did my sophomore year in high school when I
Yeah.
wanted everything from that. Because to me, it feels that way, that
Yeah.
everything comes from that. So my mind always goes back to that's what made all the other things possible, was that, because that got my head set straight and gave me the confidence to say, you know what, if you just really, really work hard and believe in yourself, saying you're going to do great things. And it's kind of funny because I've got a student who's a wrestler now, and he asked me, and he just asked me yesterday, he goes, Mister, he knows I was a 2-time state champ, 2-time junior Olympian. He goes, Mister, does your brain did it ever sabotage you? And I go, yeah, I lost matches because my brain sabotaged me every once in a while. I would
Yeah.
lose matches. And I go, it happens to all of us. But the problem is when you just let it keep happening and keep happening, you got to bounce back from it. You got to train your brain. You got to remember thoughts become things, right? So you got to train your brain and control your thoughts, and don't let your brain sabotage you, more than every once in a while. You're human. It's going to happen. It's going to sabotage you every once in a while, but don't let that be the norm. Don't let your brain get the best of you. That resistance, that negative self-talk. Don't
Yeah.
let that win. You win.
Yeah, I love that. And the neatest part of that is that, you you have a chance to beat the other wrestler if you're wrestling that guy and not the guy you're imagining him to be in your head.
Uh,
You really have to just like let that all go and be present in the moment and be ready for whatever comes. Isn't that a good way to live life? Like, this is it. This is all we
yeah,
get.
no doubt. And I can remember, Bill, when my recruiter for the Army picked me up, I was 18 years old. He picked me up at my parents' house, like 6 in the morning. The whole neighborhood's kind of still sleeping. I think it was summertime. And I'm hopping in the Jeep. And my Army recruiter looks at me and says, Hey, you ready? And I turned and looked at him and I go, I guess I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. And that was it. And I went off to like my Army career. And I got to tell you, Bill, you don't know how many times in my life I've used that phrase. I guess I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be.
Yep.
Let's just do it. Let's just do it. I mean, this happened to me, I think, like 2 days ago. 2 days ago, somebody asked me something. And I said that. Well, I think I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. So let's just do it. Saying when you go to it with that attitude, that going forward in your life, I'm probably going to use that saying probably another 50 times before I die, because I'm always going to be doing new things, facing new challenges, trying to contribute in new, bigger, better, different ways. And
Yep.
am I going to be ready? Am I going to be fully ready? No, you're never going to be fully ready. So,
Yeah.
hey, yes, I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. So let's just do it. And then when you get in there, it's like the headlights of your car can now see another 50 feet, and you can proceed another 50 feet. And as you move up, your headlights can see another 50 feet. That's
Yeah.
kind of like how your life is.
Fantastic. I really love the depth that we're able to get into here in terms of all of those kind of like mental mindsets and self-talk and all of that sort of thing. Uh, I really want to like investigate a little bit. Who's your favorite person to listen to, Dan?
Well, I would say in the old days, in the old days, my favorite person to listen to was when I came across Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah.
And then I read everything. I listened to everything. I watched everything on Tony Robbins for years. And he really shaped me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, thoughts become things. I'm pretty sure that came from Tony Robbins, the transformational vocabulary, right? Someone says, "How are you?" Okay. No, don't do that. Right? Say, "Unbelievable. Great." You know, good, good. You know, don't say that. You know, transform your life with transformational vocabulary, right? How are you? I'm great. It's unbelievable. Things are unbelievable, right? And that puts you in a certain state of mind, right? So I would say in the beginning, it was definitely Tony Robbins. For many, many years, I did him. Now, moving forward, over the years, I've kind of taken on many, many, many more mentors like Tony Robbins. And I can't say today that I have a particular person, but I can tell you I have a particular section, and it's section 158 in the library,
Okay.
filled with it's like the psychology section, and it's filled with like the psychology of success, psychology of setting goals, the psychology of winning. You know what I'm saying? Plus, it has like it has people like Tony Robbins. Like his book will be in there, and a whole
Yeah.
bunch of other great people that are trend setting are in that section of learning how to win, learning how to control your thoughts because thoughts become things, all that stuff. So I've learned much from that section, and the library is free. I'm saying I've learned much from that section, and I've had many, many, many mentors over the years, and they're constantly growing. Now, to meet today's modern times, a lot of the stuff is digital, which is beautiful. That a lot of the things are digital because
Yeah.
now you can get it right there on your phone, and you can listen to the audiobook, or you can get a podcast. And there's some really good audiobooks and really good podcasts out there. So I'm listening to a variety of people, and I think that that's kind of how it works out as you get older. You kind of move from that paradigm of having that mentor to having multiple mentors
Yes.
because there's a lot of different things you do in your multifaceted life.
And it's brilliant to replace your, shall we say, unconsidered 80,000 thoughts a day with a bunch of other thoughts that are going to be at your disposal when you need them, and they'll just show up like a Swiss Army knife for you to fit the occasion. It's
Mhm.
great. So, complete this sentence, if you will, my friend. When I grow up, I'd like to.
Join the circus.
Good luck
Didn't
with that.
Mickey say that to Rocky in one of the Rocky movies?
Yeah.
Could have sworn that was in one of the Rocky movies when Mickey said something to Rocky about, I think when this is over, we should join the circus.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I used to work with a guy at the gas station, an old guy, old timer, back when I was in high school. He told me how he used to drive the motorcycle inside that steel ball, that
Yep.
steel ball cage. He was the guy that drove the motorcycle inside of that. And I was just thinking, man, how fun that would be. Now, to be honest, I'm probably not going to join the circus. It's a metaphor for doing something that's a little wild, little off traditional, untraditional, maybe a
Yeah.
little crazy. So I'm like, when I grow up, yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to grow into that role of going out and just doing big, scary, fun things. And maybe that's what the circus is a metaphor,
Right.
a voyage of some sort, an adventure of
Yes.
some sort. Hmm.
Yeah. Knowing you, you'll probably be a trapeze flyer.
Yeah, maybe. I'll never forget the time. That time I hit a triple backflip when I was bungee jumping.
Yeah.
It-
Oh my goodness.
yeah. Oh, and I got to say though, I've been watching this show that's really catching my interest, and I'm almost thinking, you know what, that might be a decent second career. His name is Josh Gates, Expedition Unknown. He's an archaeologist, travels the world, looks for like you know uh, new mummies or different uh, things like digging up. He digs up bones a lot, uses metal detector a lot, but he does a lot of cool things, going
Yeah.
through caves. And I'm thinking maybe that's it. Maybe that's the circus. Traveling the world and putting on a TV show of you exploring the world. Who knows? Maybe that's it.
Yeah. What would Indiana Jones do today, right?
Exactly. That would be cool.
Just bring it. I
I
love
would.
it.
Bill, it's kind of funny. One of my daughter's professors at UConn is an archaeologist, and she teaches up with the. I go, what made you become an archaeologist? Right now, this is a woman. I go, what made you? She goes, Indiana Jones, of course. I'm like, so it's the women too, not just the men that all want to be Indiana Jones.
Exactly. And probably they're all afraid of snakes. It
Yeah,
just seems to go with the territory.
I think so.
So, what would you say is the most important thing in life to you right now, Dan?
Family, my wife and my children. I don't know, Bill, how much you know of my backstory about how I came from a very rough and tough, very dysfunctional home. I grew up in a way that no kid should have to grow up in, but kids every day are growing up in it. And so I didn't get to pick my family. Kids today don't get to pick their family. Some people win the birth lottery, many people lose the birth lottery. That's how it goes. But at some point, you grow up, you get bigger, you get stronger, you get more capable. And if you don't let the anger get the best of you, then
Right.
you can create the family that you deserve. And that's what I did with my wife and my 5 children. I created the family I deserve. And I think there's no better place to be than to be in the family you deserve. When you're there, you're grounded, you're loved, you're protected. You have all these things. And I don't think there's anything more important than that. Those guys that go to the office for, another hour instead of coming home for dinner, I think they're making a mistake. You gotta put time into your family. They're the most important thing in the world. Nobody ever dies and says, "Oh, I wish I'd spent more hours at the office." you know, Sometimes we're forced because we have to, because we got to make bills, make ends meet, and all that stuff, and or we got deadlines. Sometimes we have to. But when you can choose your family. There's nothing better than choosing your family.
Absolutely wonderful. And it's a great message, especially these days. So, what would you like to leave in the world after your life is done, Dan?
I would like to leave something that reminds people about me besides just my tombstone, which I think I've already accomplished some of that between books and speeches and videos and podcasts and blogs and stuff like this. I've already
Sure.
done some of that. But this is what I want. Not just the mementos that I once existed, but what I really want from that is when somebody comes across the name Dan Blanchard, or someone sees the picture of Dan Blanchard somewhere. This is what I want most. Wow, that was a good man. I just got goosebumps down my
Yeah.
back. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want most in this world. I want people to say, "No, that was a good man. He was a good man." Well, now, and I've known a few of those who have passed,
Yeah.
and to this day, I still say, "Yeah, Jim, he was a good man."
Yeah.
You know, I want people saying that about me because of the contributions and the good that I do in this world.
Very clear. Very clear. Thank you for that. And now, when you go to your baker, or you go to somebody who's really good at selling you a dozen at a time, they're going to throw a 13th one in, and I'm doing that with the question. So, your baker's question is, what is the thing that most people misunderstand about you?
Wow. Okay. Let me see. I got to tell you, Bill. This is a very unique interview. So good for you. Kudos for you. You're asking me questions like I've never been asked before, which makes this podcast very unique. So I think that every now and then, I think, and I don't know how this happens, but every now and then, I'll get somebody who just gets annoyed with me,
Hmm.
and they think I'm like too happy, or I'm talking too much, or I'm too confident or cocky or whatever it is that they think. And sometimes they get annoyed with me, and I'm just like, I don't get it, because I don't think I'm any of those things. You know what I'm saying? Or it's kind of like what Patch Adams said. Wait, you're going to accuse me of excessive happiness? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of weird to be accusing me and trying to punish me for excessive happiness. But I've actually had somebody who's actually said that to me before.
Yes.
Like, sick and tired of you, like, always acting like you're happy. And this, I'm like, well, but I am happy because I'm always trying to do good in this world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So people sometimes misunderstand that. And then every now and then, it jumps to the next level. Well, like, oh, he's just, he's cocky or whatever. And I'm just like, no, not at all. Not cocky at all. You know how hard I fight just to be confident?
Yes.
So I can get up on that stage, so I can write that next book, so I can stand in front of that classroom every day. I got to fight for that confidence. That stuff's hard. It's a battle for me every single day. It's
Yeah.
not like, so cockiness. No, that's not me. That's not me. I'm fighting for confidence every day.
I love that. I really do, because that is a personal insight, from the standpoint of what would most people never even think of asking you, you know? And I've appreciated your complete generosity, your authenticity, your honesty, your need and ability to always deliver leadership in everything that you say. It's very powerful, and I feel the energy and the power in this interview. And I'm really glad to have spent this time with you. Do you have any questions of me before we wrap up here?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I really enjoyed this interview. You challenged me a lot in this interview by asking me questions that nobody's ever asked me before. And I know, I mean, I listen to podcasts, a lot of podcasts, so I know that every now and then you do have some people out there that will ask a question or two, maybe not like 13, like newer questions or new questions. So you do get that. So, I mean, I recognize the value immediately,
Yeah.
because I appreciate what you did, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that have heard me many times in other places, but they've never heard me like they just heard me on the Bill Carell show. You know what I'm saying? So this is good stuff. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And I just want to, again, say to you folks at home, the main reason that we're doing this is to not only provide a platform for people to speak themselves and their truths, but also an opportunity for you to look in on some people who are up to some things, you know? And with that said, I want to leave you with this final message. First of all, Dan, before I close out, thank you again for your generosity and your willingness to do this. You're a great community member. You're a terrific person to be around. And I'm very selfishly going to want to have a lot more of you in my life as time goes on. Okay.
Sounds good.
So, and now back to you folks that are listening. I want you to realize that around you that you've got tons of people that are so wonderful. And I really want to entreat you to call them, write them a email, send them a text, let them know that your life works because they're in the world and that you look forward to seeing them again soon. Let's do what we can to help lift up our brothers and sisters and make this life easier to walk together. Okay. With that said, we're actually done asking questions today, and I have learned so much. Again, thank you, Dan, and you be well.
Thank you, Bill.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.